Since a bunch of players have started unlocking Huo Qubing, I've been able to see reports and performances on both Huo Qubing and even a few reports on Justinian. So today, I'll be updating my field performance tier list where I rank every single commander in the whole entire game about how they are currently performing in the field meta right now. This tier list is a great way to know what is actually doing really good right now, what is going to win in some trades against other commanders, and overall what is performing the best and what may not be performing as good. So if you're interested in the current meta and the state of Rise of Kingdoms for many commanders and how they are truly performing, you definitely want to check out the rest of the video. Let's start off by discussing what was I ranking these commanders on. Well, it's not just their trades overall, because there are some commanders who might not trade that good, but are still extremely good commanders. So I rank commanders on a multitude of things. I go over their kit. Do they bring good debuffs to the field? Are they bringing some type of a buff? Do they bring something unique to their commander kits? For example, let's say Honda has a lot of tankiness. Like you look at his stats on his expertise, he's super tanky, so he's going to get a few bonus points for that. So these stuff help them in the open field. They may not necessarily get amazing trades, but they might be a really good commander with so many commanders that they're just so versatile. They might bring crazy debuffs to the point where it gives them some type of a value. So I will be taking that into account as well. This will not just be, oh, this commander is trading good, this one's trading bad. There will be obviously a little bit more depth, and I'll discuss that as we go into the tier list. So here is the tier list, and I've split it up into 6 tiers because I think the 6 give us a really good gauge on how the field is doing right now. First of all, you have your top perform tier list. There will be one commander. First of all, you have your top perform tier list. There'll be 2 commanders for each troop type in here and 1 for leadership. These are the best of the best for their troop type right now. They're absolutely annihilating on the open field. Then we got the amazing tier. These are commanders that are just doing so good, they can arguably be better than a top performer commander, or they are on par with some top performers, but sometimes they may be a little bit below, or overall they may not bring as much value as a top performer. Good performance are commanders which are doing really good right now. Often you use them with your second march or even a third march for a specific troop type, and they're doing extremely good. They'll trade very good, but up against an opposite troop type or up against some really meta commanders, they often struggle. Good in specific situations are great if you're running 3 or 4 marches of one troop type, and then sometimes they are a bit bad in other situations. Maybe they're really good at swarming flags, for example, or swarming down players, but if you're not swarming, they may not be as good. Then you got bad performance. These are the commanders that right now just are not up to standard. They're okay. You might get a good trade every now and again, but they're not that amazing. And super trash alert as well. They're super trash. You should pretty much never use them in the field. Starting off with Ethelfled, she's a good performance in my opinion. She's got good debuffs. She's okay with Trajan. Overall though, she's a little bit more of a niche in some situations. She'll perform really well though in most situations, especially if you're running her as a 6th or a 7th march. Then we got Alexander Nevsky, and I was really struggling on whether or not to put him in top performer over some of the other Cav commanders, but overall, I think he's by far and away the top in the amazing tier, and he's almost a top performer. You could even argue that he is, and I wouldn't even say that's insane, but I still think that nowadays in the field meta, he's losing to LIANG and Boudica, and he's sometimes losing to Henry, and he's also losing to infantry. Yes, he's extremely good, but I think that the top performing commander will be better. Then we got Alexander the Great. He's good performance, he's got nice shielding, nice debuffs, good march speed, but you get him in the middle of KVK2, and that's where most of his value is, and then after that, you can't really use him as much. He does fall off compared to some of the infantry meta, and especially since archers are so dominant, he's really not that amazing in consideration. Plus, to keep in mind that his relic just came out, and it's also not that amazing. So overall, very average with the relic and all that, but he's still performing fairly decently, especially if you're looking for a fast march. I'm going to put Attila in good in specific situations. If you're on the open field, you're getting swarmed a lot, he's really good. If you're city popping, he's really good, but he is not going to ever get an amazing trade when you're not being swarmed or not being hit. He's really just there for the whales and people who are getting swarmed a lot or doing city popping. I'm going to put Xiao Xiao in bad performance. He can maybe work if you double relic him. Overall, he's not that amazing. I'm going to put Shanu Gupta into good performance. I made a video on him yesterday, and he's performing good. I think that's a very nice spot to put him. Great for 3 Cav marches, great overall in the open field, and he has a lot of value. Plus, you can get him in the daily special offer. So, he's definitely one of those good performing commanders. Charlemagne, super trash alert. I don't think I need to explain that. I'm going to put Charles Martel in good in specific situations, similar to Attila, high counterattack, high tanky commander. He works really good if you are being swarmed a lot, if you need a tanky commander, if you need some march speed, if you expertise him, he's decent as well. So I really like how he's got a lot of counterattack, his shielding, all of that is nice, but he definitely is not on par with some of these good performance commanders. So overall, he's just good in specific situations. I'm going to put CJ into probably good performance. He's actually performing decently for infantry, considering they are a little bit struggling on commanders. He's by no means an amazing commander at the point where I'm like, yeah, you should go and invest in him. But if you run him right now, he's not going to be too bad. He's not going to be too good. So I'm going to put him in that good performance. I'm going to put Cleopatra on super trash for obvious reasons. Constantine's going in bad performance. Overall for the field, he's super tanky, but he's just going to take so many sevs that it's almost useless. So that is why he's in the bad performance. I don't think I've ever seen a Constantine truly trade good on the open field in Season of Conquest, and I don't think that's ever really going to change. Gilgamesh is good in specific situations. If you run 4 or so Archer Marches or you run only Archers, his health debuff is invaluable. If you're looking to counter a lot of healing, which really isn't a thing most players do, but if you want to do it, he's also invaluable. So he is good in very specific situations. You'll see he trades really good sometimes and really bad in other times. So I think that's a very deserving rank. I'm going to put all the garrison commanders into bad performance since almost none of them are good on the open field. There might be an exception or two. Edward is also going in bad performance. I think that nowadays in Season of Conquest, his DPS is literally just not up to standard. He used to have the highest damage factor in the game. That's not even the case anymore. So he definitely is not one of those commanders where I would say he deserves a higher rank. Then we got El Cid. He's also going with our friend Edward of Woodstock. His DPS is way too low, and his utility is also pretty low nowadays. Frederick is also similar to El Cid. DPS way too low compared to some of the modern commanders, and is bringing literally no utility besides some troop capacity. Genghis Khan, the next commander, also in bad performance. I actually would put him like maybe good in specific situations. If you really need a cav commander and you have a Khan relic, he does trade pretty good against archers. But overall, he's definitely not one of those top commanders, and he's a very low position on this good in specific situations. I'd say that he's borderline bad performance. I'm going to put Hannibal Barca in super trash for obvious reasons. He's just really not good in the field past like KVK 1. I'm going to put Harold in amazing. He's still doing really good for infantry, lots of counter attack, lots of DPS, and he's a really good secondary to a lot of infantry commanders. Bertrand is going in good performance. I've seen him perform pretty well on the field. He's somewhat tanky, and you can expect that to pretty much sustain itself for quite a while. So I'd say he's in the good performance tier. Artemisia is also going in good performance. If you put it with Boudica, currently it's still going to work. I don't know about the future value. I will put a big damper on that. So this tier list doesn't take that into account, but I will mention that she doesn't have as much future proofing as a lot of these other good performance commanders, and overall she's not that amazing. Suleiman is super trash. I never ever see Suleiman reports that are good. Cyrus is good performance. I'd say that he's a very good archer commander if you're running 3 archer marches. His debuffs are really nice. His DPS is okay, but he's a little bit squishy, so do keep that in mind. He's more of a utility commander. That's the main reason he is in good performance. So if you want a lot of utility, you could get a Cyrus, but he's also really only if you're getting 3 or so archer marches. Guan Yu right now is amazing in my opinion. He's doing really good with CPO, but overall, I think that he's just not at that top performance tier anymore. He's just too squishy, and he doesn't bring as much utilities as he used to compared to some of the modern commanders. His silence, though, is still one of a kind. It's one of the reasons he's still in the amazing tier. CPO is definitely a top performing commander. He's the best of the best for the infantry at the moment. Hopefully we see this change with new infantry commanders coming soon, but at the moment he's by far and away the best infantry commander, and that's why he goes in the top perform list. Pakal, I'm tempted to put in amazing, but I think that he should go in good performance, just because, I mean, he is really good for city popping. He's really good on the open field to getting swarmed, but other than that, you'll never ever trade better than a 1-for-1 with Pakal if you're not being swarmed or if you're not city popping. So Pakal is one of those commanders where he's really good in some situations, where I would say he's better than just good in specific situations, but he's not overall absolutely amazing on the open field, so that's why he doesn't get the amazing tier, and I think this is a good spot to put him. Leonidas is a bad performance nowadays. He's just not tanky enough. His DPS is definitely way too low, and he doesn't bring enough utility. Honda is going in amazing. Actually, I'm going to put him in top perform. He's probably one of, if not the best leadership commander. I could argue that he is actually in the amazing tier, and Trajan is better, but I think that he is probably a little bit better than Trajan overall on the field right now. And then we got Nebu, and I'm going to put Nebu in amazing. He's a really good 3rd or 2nd Archer March. His DPS is amazing, but keep in mind he's extremely glass cannon, so he's pretty much going to be the bottom of the amazing tier due to that fact. Joan Prime is a top performing commander. She is almost the best of the cavalry. She's the best secondary currently available, and I don't think that's going to change for quite a while. Her DPS is just way too good. Ishida in bad performance. Garrison commanders all go into the bad performance list. And then we've got our friend Julius Caesar, and I think that he's good in specific situations, and not specific situations, but with specific commanders. If you have good rage cycle with him, for example, if you put him behind a Zhang Yu or you put him behind any commander that's really fast rage, he's going to do fairly decently. But other than that, you're never ever going to really see a Julius Caesar completely popping off in the field unless he's with some extremely specific commanders, and you'd be really better off getting some of the other commanders such as Mehmed. Lubu is super trash. Mehmed, I'm going to put into the good performance. Actually, I'm going to put him in amazing. You double relic him. He's super cheap, and he's doing extremely good right now. I've seen Mehmed reports where they take a commander who would be very bad with other commanders, for example, as CPO, and if you have no one other than like a 5511 Charles Martel, you could double relic a 5511 Mehmed, and it's going to do much better than with the Charles Martel. So that is why Mehmed is in the amazing tier. Minamoto is also an amazing. His double relic is extremely good right now. I still see him trading fairly decently. He was one of the only commanders that could actually beat ZHUGE when paired with Nevsky, so he is a really strong cav commander still with that double relic. Mulan, good in specific situations. You're looking for a buff march, she's on point right there. Ragnar is going into bad performance purely because he is just there for the rally. That's all he's there for. I would never really say he's there for the open field. He doesn't trade too good. If you're running Attila Takeda, he can be a substitute, but Takeda, once again, is also not a great performing commander, so that's why he sits in that bad performance tier. Also, Ramses is going in there with him. Ramses is just not up to standard with stats and damage nowadays, so he deserves that tier as well. Richard as well is going in that tier. A lot of commanders in this bad performance list right now. Richard, really tanky commander, really good utility, but overall I'd say that in most situations you're going to notice he trades super badly, so if you just want the utility, he's okay to get, but mostly he's going to trade very negative, so I wouldn't really be getting him. Saladin, I'm going to put in good performance. He's a really, really decent performing commander right now. Extremely tanky, nice stats, nice march speed reduction. Keep in mind though, he's being a little bit outclassed by all the newer cav commanders, and his tankiness might not be up to standard against some of the more modern and brand new commanders who just deal crazy damage, but still he's really good if you're running 3 or so cav marches, and he works really well with some cheap commanders like Ethelfled. I'm going to put Flavius in bad performance because he is a garrison. Jan Ziska is actually one of the garrisons I'm going to bump up a little bit. I've seen him trade somewhat decently, which is odd to say actually, but overall he's really not that bad. Like, he's not amazing by any stand, but if you're really desperate and you're running only cav marches, he's a commander that most players actually do get. If you're running like 5 or 6 cav marches, which I don't recommend, but if you do it, you kind of need Jan Ziska, and in most situations he's going to be bad, but in some situations he performs fairly decently. I'm going to put Sagan in top performance. He's the second best infantry commander. Some would say he's better than Scipio, some would say he isn't. I personally think he isn't. So he's definitely one of those top performing commanders, but as new infantry come around, we may see that drop down depending on who they pair well with. But right now, he's a really good debuffing commander, a really good DPS, and a very tanky commander. Tarek is also going to go in amazing tier. Some would argue he's better than Sagan. I think that he's slightly worse, not as much utility. Very good damage on Tarek, so if you're running 2 infantry marches, he's almost a must-have unless you go for Sagan or you go for Harold or one of those other commanders. But his DPS is definitely up to standard with some of the meta commanders currently. Then Boudica is going to the top performance tier list. She is probably one of, if not the best archer commander at the moment, and I would say that she's going to continue like that for quite a while because she's got amazing debuffs and amazing DPS. I'm going to put Henry in amazing. He is the second best archer commander if you're running 2 marches. If you're running 2 marches, he is the second best primary you can get. He's really tanky. Just keep in mind though, he doesn't have many debuffs and he is a rally commander, but mainly because he doesn't have debuffs is one reason that he's not in that top performance tier list compared to the other archer commander I will discuss soon. Moctezuma is a super trash commander. Heraclius is a garrison. I'm going to put both the siege commanders in good and specific situations. You have to play them well, and you have to be in specific situations really to use them. You have to have either field dominance or a really, really good position to hide them behind. So keep that in mind if you're running them, but if you are running them and they do good, they're going to do extremely good, but they are really hard to use and extremely difficult and require a lot of focus, so it may be hard to get the kills that you need with them. DIDO is a garrison. Huo Qubing is going to the top perform. People would say Nevsky is better. I still think Huo Qubing is. If you're hitting people in the open field, you're hitting and running, which is typically what happens in a murder ball situation. Huo Qubing overall is going to perform better than Nevsky. That is just a fact. We've seen it in the simulator, he trades better. We've seen it on the open field nowadays. He's trading ever slightly better than Nevsky, but this tier list is all about who can trade better. So overall, he is trading better, but even though Nevsky has a little bit more utility, I think that the difference between the trades for Huo Qubing and Nevsky really does give him that rank 1 position, but some would argue Nevsky is the rank 1 and Huo Qubing should be an amazing, and I still think that is a valid argument, especially if you're looking for a more tanky commander rather than a more DPS commander. Justinian is a good performance. If you're running 5-6 marches, he's going to be really good. If you want a 3rd cav march, he's also a really solid option. Pyrus, good in specific situations. His relic is very underwhelming though, so I can't justify giving him a higher rank. ZHUGE, top performance. He's arguably the best archer. I still personally say Boudica is because you need her to make him really good. But if you want to run him with Henry, that works. You want to run him with Nebu, that works. And he's just the best damage commander in the whole entire game currently. So I think ZHUGE is really a big monster on the field. That's why he gets the top perform. I'm going to put a Manatori in good performance. She is really okay in good performance specific situations. If you're really desperate to run 5 or so archer matches, you can use her, but she's borderline bad performance, and I've already put her in the bad investment tier before because she really needs to be expertise. So keep that in mind. If you run her currently, she's going to do decently, but in the future, you're going to notice that she's definitely going to start to fall off, especially due to a lack of march speed. Sundok is trash. Theodora is a garrison. Attila is similar to Ragnar. They're just really there for the Attila Takeda combo, and even then Attila Takeda is not as good. The only reason Attila is a rank higher is because he works with Nevsky and some other commanders. Thutmose, I'm also going to put in bad performance, a lot of bad performance commanders already. Then we've got our friend Tamiris. Tamiris is definitely going to go into good performance specific situations. You're looking for a debuff march, she's got to go in there. If you're looking for 7 or so marches, she's got to go in there. Other than that though, she might not be a commander that you choose. Then I'm going to put Trajan in the amazing tier. He's one of the top leadership commanders. If you're running 6 or 7 marches, he's doing really good at the moment, and his buffs are extremely powerful. Also going to put William in the amazing tier. Works really well with most cav commanders. Once again, extremely powerful buffs and debuffs. So I really like William for the field. He's almost essential if you run 2 or so cav marches. Wizard Tian is on the bad performance list because she is a garrison. Zhang Yu is going to go into the amazing tier as well. A lot of cavs in the higher ranks today. And Zhang Yu is going in there because he's still extremely good if you're running 3 cav marches, to the point where I would say he's above viable. So that is why he's in the amazing tier. Keep in mind though, he's extremely squishy. So if you do get hit with him, you're going to take way more sevs than you would with Huo Qubing or Nevsky, but he still does enough damage to the point where I would say he's in the amazing tier. And then YSG is good performance. He's at that point at the moment where he is performing decent, but he's not at the meta-breaking level he used to be, though he is still a very powerful commander. Now here's my final rankings for the tier list, with the best commander currently being in the game for the open field, in my opinion, a ZHUGE, especially if you pair him with Boudica or another really good archer primary, and the worst commander currently being in the game, probably Charlemagne. I didn't really change the super trash list since they're all pretty much equally bad, so that is pretty much in order from the best commander to the worst. There were no major changes I made off camera. I think that the only thing was I did bump these siege commanders up a lot. You can see that they are now almost at the top of the good and specific situations, because I've seen reports with them, especially now that I'm looking at my siege restart account, that are just absolutely insane. So overall, I think that these siege commanders definitely are going to either go up or down as I begin to use them and see how they perform. And I also did put Justinian at the top of the good performances. He is borderline in the amazing tier. If he had a little bit more utility, he would be there, but he is mainly a DPS commander. That is why he's kind of stuck in that good performance list. You'll notice that most of the commanders here, besides Cyrus and Shanogupta and I guess Ethelfled, are mainly DPS commanders. So this tier list seems to be riddled with DPS commanders at this one tier, but as you get higher up, you get the utility and the damage, and then the lower down you get, they either have a lot of damage or a lot of utility. So I also do want to state 2 more things. Tamaris and Mulan are at the front because they do really good in specific situations, so I think this tier is the most suiting of them. Plus, Mulan is the best buffing commander in the game, and Tamaris is arguably the best debuff commander, since getting Sargon's debuff can be a little bit difficult. Now, I hope you found this video useful, or at least interesting. So if you did, consider subscribing to the channel. I try to push out one of these videos every day or every 2 days, depending on how busy I am. And your subscription is a great way to support me, literally for free. So if you do enjoy my content, consider subscribing. It is much appreciated. Now, I just want to say thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.